I was in Sugarmeats in July for the 15th anniversary of that killing, and they have a commemoration. Thanks to the involvement of the international community and the development of DNA technology, it's been possible, even though the killers had buried the people and then to cover their crimes had moved bodies, they reburied them in other sites. Sometimes with parts of the bodies in one place and parts of the body in the other. Through intense work, it's been possible to identify several thousand of the victims and to rebury them. This year there were some 755 that were reburied, 755 Muslims, one Catholic. Was in the procession, helping carry the coffins, very light because they were on the bones, to intern at the cemetery near the kiln site, and then met with the survivors whose brothers and husbands and sons were being interred. But and of course there's frustrations, unhappiness. We still don't have wattage. The world should be bringing more pressure to get him. We still don't have justice in the sense that the people, the executioners who were involved in actually killing my son, they may be over the border and being prosecuted. I mean, there's a lot of frustrations in all of that. But I find even dealing with those tough questions and then trying to answer them and listening to their stories, as I keep saying, this gives me the strength to really go back out there and achieve justice, and push as hard as we can to get people arrested, as hard as we can to get fair trials and to hold people to account. So actually finding that as painful as it is, it's something that keeps you
going.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this week we're working on a permanent institution that's going to do this into the future. You were talking about something that was in the mandate of the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, which is about to go out of business, but we now have a permanent court to go forward with, and that's what the Assembly of State Parties is working on this week. I wanted to ask you what your observer delegation is hoping to see happen at this session, and you mentioned to me that you wanted an opportunity to talk about the court's ability to help domestic legal systems and courts, so go for it.
Well, indeed, and that was part of my intervention today, and I think people, this term complementarity, every time I type it, my
computer lights
perfect lights up and says there's no such word.
Right.
I look it up. Yes, there is. It's the complementarity.
Yeah.
It's not a normal word, but it indicates that the court, the International Criminal Court, is a complement to the national system.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the whole thing, and that it's not a court that has primacy as the international tribunals of Yugoslavia and Rwanda did, where they said we get all the cases unless we decide to pass them down. The ICC only gets cases where the national system is unable or unwilling to do them. But I remember this time I met Luis Moreno Ocampo before, just after his nomination,
the prosecutor,
before he was actually sworn in. I was when he was giving a speech at Harvard. He was visiting that year in like April of 2003, and he said, I think at that time, that he'd be the most successful prosecutor in the world if he had no cases. Now, I'm not sure the Assembly of States Parties, the judges would necessarily agree with that. He might not have repeated that later, but it made sense in the way that, of course, what you want is for the national systems to do it themselves.
Yes.
And if the prosecutor, by standing off stage like a 900-pound gorilla, says, you do it yourself, or I'm coming in to take this over, and when I come in, I'll be doing it in The Hague. I'll be doing it with judges, some who are from your region, many who aren't. We'll be doing it under our rules and procedures, or you can go to work and do it yourself.
Yes.
That sort of stick that the international system can take it away.
Yes.
Can motivate them to do the right thing. On the other hand, the stick's not enough when a country doesn't have the resources to do it. And of course, we also recognize that, of course, the prosecutor is and has taken cases, and but can't, the number of trials you can have in The Hague, the number of cases that you can make at any one time is relatively limited when you're going to cover almost the whole world.
Right, yeah.
And so you want the national system, to the extent possible, to do these things so that they don't have to go to the court. Or when the International Court prosecutes, like they have in the DRC, so far, public cases, the Democratic Republic of Congo, they've got 4 people in custody for crimes in the Democratic Republic of Congo now, most recently an arrest in Paris for crimes in the Kivu's part, 3 others that are on trial for crimes in northeast Congo, and then another Bosco in Uganda who's a fugitive, and there may be a couple more cases that might pop up. But, so maybe 6 or 7 people might be prosecuted in a country where, since the AMICC came in 2002, there have been thousands of civilians murdered, and tens of thousands have been raped in relation to this civil war and non-international armed conflict. So the AMICC can do some important cases of senior leaders, but what about all the rest? What about, if they do a general, what about the colonels,
yes,
so to speak? And so you want the national system to be able to do those. And we're particularly concerned about that in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You've got ongoing violations. In August, we had this report of 303 women and some boys actually raped in Walikali during a 3-day period at the end of July, beginning of August 2010. And the prosecutor is looking at the evidence on that potentially to hold